Peace and welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. Let's break it off talking about politics a little bit, how some evangelicals who have supported Donald Trump through all the madness that he brings to the table, who are now deciding to turn the other cheek and let him go, saying he used them. Okay, we'll have a little conversation about that. Also, we're going to be checking in with a city council at large member, Dr. Adabit, as she talks to us a little bit about the work that she's doing and as working with cities across this country to help them to understand how to make government better for the average citizen. We'll have that conversation and a whole lot more. So stay with us. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to get to. And of course, you're going to be a part of the conversation. So stay with us. It's the culture here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the discussion. And happy Friday. Happy Friday. If you are like me, this was a long time coming. So I appreciate you for tuning in and being a part of the discussion. Make sure that y'all jump in. We have a number of chats that are happening right now. Whether you are on YouTube or Facebook, you can join us in the discussion. And certainly we will try to highlight as many of your comments and your thoughts as possible throughout today's show. And also, I hope that you're streaming us on blackstarnetwork.com. Yep, that's the place that you'll find all the latest news and information, all of the past shows that we have done. And of course, it's an opportunity for you to show your support for this Black-owned media platform. So go to our website if you haven't already at blackstarnetwork.com. Download everything related to the site. Just download the app. It's free of charge, folks. And more importantly, if you can give something to help us in this great movement that we have, that we are a part of bringing you culturally relevant information, news and information, then please, we ask you for your support. So again, check us out at blackstarnetwork.com, and also make sure you hit us on our socials on IG, Twitter, and Facebook at Black Star Network. All right, folks. I wanted to jump in here. Let's start the conversation off a little bit of politics, talking about your favorite former president. I shouldn't say that because some people probably actually like the guy. So we're talking about former President Donald Trump, who again earlier this week has announced that he's running for president. This will be his third attempt. This is his third announcement about presidency. And as a result of this announcement, there has been a lot of movement within the GOP, the Republican Party, to try to figure out what to do with a guy like Donald J. Trump. Now, folks that are close to him, according to the reports and according to what people are saying, folks that are close to him are starting to even think twice about him running for office again in the midst of federal investigations, in the midst of January 6th committee hearings, in the midst of it's just not good for business, in the midst of DeSantis winning strong in Florida, and he possibly would be a better candidate on the GOP side, in the midst of it's just not good for business. Got a lot of things going on. But the former president said, yep, I'm still moving forward. And guess what? I can get the votes. Well, it looks like some of the people that are close to the president, i.e. the evangelicals, these are the religious right. These are the people who believe that he is anointed. Well, that's what at least they said when he became president the first time. They thought he was anointed to do their role. Now they're turning the other cheek. Yeah, like how I said that. They're turning the other cheek. And apparently they are deciding to fade away. Yeah, the evangelicals are saying that the president is not good for what they want to see happen. And essentially, he used them. Mm, Donald Trump using people. Has that happened? So let me just share with you what's been mentioned about the former president. Take a look at this. This is from a report from the Huffington Post, how they talked about this issue, how they're saying that the evangelicals are moving away, and they are questioning whether he really is the person they thought he would be. Yeah. All right. So take a look. Evangelical figures. This is the thing. They figured that they turn on Trump, and when he essentially said he used us. Evangelical figures who previously supported Donald Trump are backing off now that he's announced his third bid for the presidency. According to Mike Evans, he was a major evangelical, he said Donald Trump can't save America. He can't even save himself. Ouch. Mike Evans was part of a group of evangelicals who met with Trump at the White House and at one point gave him an award. Now he says he's done with Trump. According to Mike, he said he used us to win the White House. We had to close our mouths and eyes when he said things that horrified us. I cannot do that anymore. Really? You can't forget. And Robert Jeffries, who was one of Trump's evangelical advisors during the 2016 campaign, a longtime supporter, said he's not ready to endorse the former president either. Are we surprised, folks? Are we surprised? One time, you can fool me once. What George Bush said, you remember that that moment? He said, you can fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you. Well, I don't know if the president is going to be able to get the evangelical right over to his side, considering everything else that has happened. But this speaks to a real problem, folks, that I think is really a microcosm of a macrocosmic problem in America. And it's funny, if y'all read this article in the Post, it's like, oh, he used us, and now people on Twitter are like responding like, wait a minute, but y'all used him too. See, we're in this age and time, especially when it comes to politics, that we tend to use people, and I'm just throwing out this word. We do tend to use people to get what we want. They work as long as they are a means to an end, right? But even though they may, and I see some voters. I mean, as voters, we do the same thing. We say, oh, well, this person, they stand for economic development. They have a business, or this person stands for this issue, and I like that. But you can't separate one issue. You can't take like slice of the person without taking the whole person. You have to take the whole person when you're looking at power, when you're looking at political power, right? So you can't put a man into office, a woman into office, who has, out of the 10 things that you like to see happen politically, they touch on 3 to 4 of those things, and therefore they become your candidate. That just doesn't make sense. And then you expect the other six to 7 parts of them to not interfere, to not be a problem. That doesn't make sense. Like really, when you go to the polls, when we vote for people, we got to vote for the whole person. Isn't that what we always say, especially in the relationship space? Yeah, I want you to come and be your authentic self. I want you to be the whole person. But we don't expect the same from political figures, which is interesting, because we want these sparse things from our political figures. And unfortunately, folks, you're not going to, you can't a la carte. Well, I guess you really can. Who is going to be the president? There's only one person that's going to be president. There's only one person that's going to be the governor, or your state representative, or a city council person, or your judge, or Supreme Court justice. There's only you really got to take the whole person. And that's why it's better for you to choose somebody that is more closely aligned to the majority of your values and to your beliefs than it is to align yourself to someone who is partially aligned to the majority of your values. it's the same conversation, and we can open this up. And I want to get your thoughts on this, Culture Crew. It's a conversation about that we're having about the Republican Party and Black folks, and this is just me. I'm just this little old Farajii Muhammad. But it's the same thing I think that we can say about the Republican Party. Like, we can say, oh, let's go to the Republican Party and let's get something from there. But you got to take the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Now, there's no party that says, look, I'm half Republican, I'm half libertarian, I'm half socialist, democratic socialist, and I'm all and the rest of me. There's no party that speaks to every element of you, right? That's fine. But there is actually we can say the independent party, right? That's a little bit broad. But when we're talking about political power, when we're talking about how do we advance our political agenda, then it does get into a space where we have to choose people that are more aligned with our values and beliefs. Look, I'm not crying any crocodile tears for these evangelicals, because guess what? You mean to tell me a man like Donald Trump, who has been around for 30, 40, 50 years or so, I mean, either on the periphery or even, in the conversation, you mean to tell me that a man who says that he grabs women by their private parts, this is acceptable to evangelicals? That's God's will. You mean to tell me that a man who has said some of the things he said, done some of the things that he has done, that you didn't know that? Oh, come on. So let's stop the BS, right? Let's stop acting like, oh my God, he used us. He does not have some magic ray that he just points at you. Remember that little device in Men in Black? Y'all remember Men in Black? Y'all remember that movie, that Will Smith movie, right? Remember the little device they said, okay, we're going to, at this moment, you didn't see anything. They hold up like a pen. It looked like a pen. And they was just like, guess what? Good night. And then you're supposed to forget all that just happened to you seeing the alien. That doesn't happen in real life, folks. I'm sorry. It just doesn't happen. You got to take the whole person. We have to bring and we have to acknowledge the whole self. And personally, I don't know about you, as a Black person, as much as I have a problem with some issues with the Democratic Party, and as much as I have some pride, I can't ride with somebody who speaks to 2/10 of who I am. Right? Just because I want to have a job, or just because I want to start a business. And I think, oh, this person is the best qualified to handle economics, or this person is the best. And then you have your morality, your character, all of that is just tossed to the side. Just doesn't work that way. But I may be wrong. That's why I'm asking you. Let's go to you, Culture Crew, hear exactly what you got to say. And then I'm going to bring my guy Rashad in, so we can certainly hear your thoughts. Let me go to my comments here. Where's my comments? There we go. All right. Let's go to some of these comments. I'm not seeing some of them, making sure that I can see them. All right. Let's go to, and let's hear from me. Let me do this first. Let me backtrack. Let's get Rashad in, get his take on it, and then we'll hear from some of the comments from our Culture Crew. Rashad, my big brother, who is a Culture Crew members. He's a nonprofit leader doing some great work, all around good guy, but he's an activist and advocate. All right, Rashad. So these evangelicals are like, oh, he used us. Oh, oh. Either you take him or you don't.
Hey, bro, happy Friday, happy holidays.
Happy Friday, Rashad.
You got to my favorite holiday of the week. It's one that I look forward to celebrating. So we're gonna put that out there first.
Right.
And I posted something on my social media the other day, and I simply just uploaded a cap, right? And it just was that cap. Like, that's just been my word for the last, society for the last 2 weeks. Like, we've been capping at this highest altitude that we have ever seen. All of this is cap. But I will say, in the base of strength and asset approach, right? It's refreshing. One in particular to hear that, one of the immediate steps to change is admitting fault, right? And acknowledging your past mistakes. So let's give them that benefit of the doubt as a gainful win. right? That this particular entity has taken its approach to understand how they was corralled into an agenda that was bigger than themselves for ultimate place of some political figure that is out for their own personal gain, and that they saw that they were being corralled for this type of agenda, to know that, you know, 4 years later, that they can endorse the same thing that they unknowingly or did knowingly know that they were endorsing, and have seen those implications. For them to take that stance, it says a level of self-awareness and reflection on their end, because without those votes, without them using their seat of influence to galvanize those voters based off of their faith-based ideologies, they are now at a space of awareness to say, we can't continue to be repetitive in this and open up our fellowship and our patrons to go behind a candidate that they can't vocalize and actually say, you know what, this is attached to our standards and our beliefs. Because one, like you said, we're not going to find this whole elected official that covers all bases. But at the same time, we have to have some pillars of what our foundations, our priorities, and our values are. And we have to, as a collective, not be willing to compromise out of self-interest.
Bro, let me just say this. I'm with you 100%. And the reason I bring this up is because I often hear conversations like this in the Black community, right? Where we expect our, there are two scenarios at play. Mm-hmm. One scenario is that some Black folks, for example, expect their political leaders to be Jesus. I call it the Jesus factor, right? Mm-hmm. Where we expect them to be 100% noble and righteous. No dirt on them. No thought of doing anything illegal, right? No thought of going into a seat of power, not connecting with some other people that are doing illegal stuff. And we expect them to rise above it. I don't expect that. And I'm talking about from Black political leaders. Black folks think, some Black folks think that way about Black political leadership, that they're mm-hmm. supposed to be the modicum of civility and righteousness in the dirty world of American politics.
Imagine that.
Then you got other Black folks who are kind of on some other Black folks who are like, no, they don't, because this Black political leader don't speak to this, then this, I'm therefore going to jump ship and thinking about going someplace else, right? The balance, that's what I'm getting to. We got to find the balance, right? Because this situation here with the evangelicals' relationship with Trump just goes to show you, like in America, you know, the old thing in America is there's separation between church and state.
Yeah.
That's not true. That's not true. And here's the thing. We think that when the pastor gets, they say, oh, the pastor gets political, right? Why is the pastor speaking into world affairs? You're supposed to be speaking to human spirituality, because world affairs affect human spirituality. Oh, like, why is that so crazy? Why we can't, Jesus, if we want to get real, if we want to get very specific, Jesus was going to war with the Pharisees and the government of his day.
With this state of his time. Those were the
So if the Jesus of 2,000 years ago was alive today, would he not be going to war with the forces of evil and oppression in the United States of America? Or do you think he would tell people, hey, man, turn the other cheek, or hey, brother, don't worry about them? God. See, the thing is that our view of
Farajii.
Hey, bro, no, it don't make no sense, because the view that we have of spiritual people is weakness. It really comes from that space, right? We think that because you're spiritual, you are weak and meek, that you don't supposed to have a say, or you're just supposed to bless everyone. And no, God gets angry, God gets mad, right? We try to create this other narrative around the spiritual conversation. So the point I'm making is, If you want to, okay, fine. You are a evangelical pastor. You saw an opportunity to connect with a candidate who spoke your language, who can move your agenda further along.
Mm-hmm.
And in city after city, you can't tell me because I've been in those rooms, Rashad. You know that there are pastors that buddy up to the mayors, city council people, and other people in political power because they want to get money for their church. Can the church say amen? They want to get that, they want to get that land, right? They're trying to open up a school, right? Right? They want to create a building fund or this fund or that fund.
Right. Say it.
And guess what? That relationship in some ways are transactional.
Yep, exactly. And that's what we experienced here. And it's at the place of them renegotiating what their transactional relationship will look like. Right. And because that is a stain on their political resume of a candidate whom they endorse publicly. And we are seeing those implications to the candidate that they rally behind. It's now in this time, in this light, in the social climate that we're in, do we attach our name for the second time around? And you're seeing this as it's a transactional report. And that's what we need to do in all the different sectors, all the different agencies, all the different institutions, all the different elected officials, all the community organizers to assess, right, with a level of discernment of what position did they take in a space, when did they speak up and when did they go silent. And that article itself speaks to them, and they openly admitted that after giving endorsements, there were certain points that he made publicly that they could not rally behind or publicly endorse further because they got out of the alignment of what they were trying to go to. And that's what we have.
I'm gonna just say to him, it's bull. It's bull, bro. That's what it is. It's bull. Don't get holier than thou. No, bro. You were wrong. You were wrong a year ago. You were wrong 3 years ago. You were wrong 6 years ago. You gave the man the award. You said that. I literally remember. Y'all remember that moment when they were talking about some pastors they had around him, and he was like, we truly believe he was anointed. Oh man, he was anointed to this. Oh yeah, he was anointed. He's not the Antichrist. No, we're not giving him that much power. He ain't that. He ain't that. He ain't that strong and powerful as y'all think. But y'all anointed him. Y'all did the anointing. Y'all did the appointing. Y'all made him bigger than life. Y'all made it seem like God's hands was Trump's hand. No, bro. The voice got to get high, Rashad.
No, stay over there. Now.
I'm not going for that. I wouldn't go from white evangelicals, and I damn sure won't go for that from black evangelicals. You know what I'm saying? That's not. That's no. And I think for us as the constituents and the citizens, look, man, I don't have, again, your pastor's going to have to get political. He's going to have to say something. You can't. I mean, of course, Jesus says, "I'm in the world, but I'm not of it." But you can certainly speak about what's going on in the world, right? And bring it home to how people can live in it, right? So we're at that place right now. We're at that place. And I don't like how, no, y'all trying to save face. Because if somebody might say the same thing about Ron DeSantis. Somebody might say the same thing about some other, crazy GOP, right winger. And the crazy thing is, a lot of these guys, they attach their politics to their faith. Because if black folks did that, come on now, let's keep it real. If black folks we accept that on the conservative side. Oh, this is their faith. Therefore, Mike Pence going around talking about his book. His book is what's the name of Mike Pence's book, y'all? God help me. You going around, man, damn near threatened your life. And you going around talking about, I'm not going to say nothing to the January 6th committee, or God put me in this position. Bruh. See, now you playing between putting God into your madness right? And then that turns the people off. So what do you say to your flock? What do you say to your fellows? What do you say to your congregation?
Hey, I was just about to say, you're gonna either be a scapegoat or you're gonna be a shepherd. But there's a whole difference between it. And we have to be able to understand how they show up in it. Like, that's all I can say, brother. We're going to either allow these folks to continue to scapegoat, or we're going to hold them accountable to be the shepherds of what we need to move this pendulum forward, bro. And that's all it comes down to.
And black folks can't do that. See, they tell black folks, and I'm saying the conservatives tell black folks, don't include your faith into this situation. You got black political leaders that can't even really express their faith, right? But then on the conservative side, they say that their faith serves as the root of their political stance. It's a double standard. It's expected. But now when you get pulled to the carpet, don't start backing down now. Don't start backing down now. But that's just the weakness of your expression of faith. That's your. I'm not going to say, oh, that's not Jesus' fault. That's your fault, bro. That's your weakness. And you need to feel the full brunt of telling people to follow a man who you knew was not good to follow. Morally, spiritually, psychologically. But you put it yourself out there. Now you're trying to backtrack. Well, that's between you and your God. But at this point, I don't care. Like, you can cry crocodile tears all day, bro. Talking about he used that. Well, your ass needed to get used because you that dumb. That's how I feel about it. All right, let me take a couple of things because we're going to have to get to our next conversation. LaShonda, you said they act like a chick that didn't know that a guy only wanted her for sex. Damn. When he was given clear signs that it is all he wanted, but you think that you are so different. Dang. That's true.
Hey, I was waiting for that comment, bro. She nailed that. That's the analogy right there. That's the coffin and the nail. Rolling it. That was it.
Hey, yo, it's Friday already, son. Wow. Tiana, you said they were trying to protect whiteness. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Janae, you said, wait, so it was transactional with laughing emojis. Oh, yes. It was very transactional.
But that's what politics is. Politics is a transactional exchange. That's literally what it means in the definitive of it.
Come on.
Right on. Couldn't have made it any more.
That's what it is. That's what it is. It's a compromise, but it's a transactional compromise, right? You do this, I do that. You get this, I get that. We friends because of that relationship. Now, if we become different friends, that's fun. Look, I'm clear. It's very simple. Very simple. I'm clear. Like when I was doing the radio show in Baltimore, folks, I knew that certain political leaders, they only liked me because I had a platform. They only liked me. Hey, Farajii. And I was able to use the platform and bring them on and all of that. But it was very transactional. I was clear in that relationship. Like, oh, y'all only cool with me because you probably thought something of me. But it's cool. It's cool. But you got to be clear about the relationships that you're in, especially when it comes to those who represent power and influence. You got to be clear about that. Got to be clear. All right, look, we got to take a quick pause because I want to make sure we have enough time for our next guest, Rashad. We're going to switch gears and talking a little bit about, we started the conversation yesterday about the National Leagues of Cities Summit that's happening. There are a number of political leaders that have convened in Kansas, that is convening in Kansas as we speak. So we're going to continue that conversation with our next guest. So stay with us. We got a lot to get to. You're tuned into The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, Here on the Black Star Network, every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
November 8th. We can vote today, y'all. Early vote started this week.
We're on Savannah State University's campus. We will be dorm storming today, giving our treats for everyone. We hope to see everyone at the polls when it comes to November.
If you believe we got power, let them know. Make some noise. Put a fist up. I need to see a fist in the air because we got power. Come on, you put it up. Come get your shirt. We're out here in the streets of Savannah, Georgia. James, do not forget to go vote. I got you. If we vote the right people in, we can make a change. We can get these resources in our community.
I am a woman, and it is important that we have the say-so of what we want to do with our bodies.
We're concentrating on entrepreneurism, providing young people with resources and training that they need in order to change their trajectories. We want black down.
Democracy is on the ballot. Voting rights is on the ballot. Voting suppression is on the ballot. I am most passionate about those three combined because they all impact each other.
Savannah is my home. I care about my community, and I care about representation in my community.
Our voices are still going to be heard no matter what kind of obstacles try to come up against us to stop us from voting. We're still going to be standing our ground.
I see the effort that's being made to keep our communities from voting. So that makes me realize it's even more important, because if it wasn't important, they wouldn't be fighting to make sure we couldn't vote.
This doesn't stop this year. This is a forever movement.
We're going to exert our power as a people, walk in our rightful place. We're going to change our communities, fight for our communities, and build our communities.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Big shout out to those who are a part of Black Voters Matter. Man, that whole message was absolutely dope, inspiring, and phenomenal. And if you're down in Georgia, you know you got that big runoff at the beginning of December. And I know that people understand the significance of it between Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock. And let me be very clear what I said on that situation. Man, don't vote for Herschel Walker, man. Don't vote for him. Don't vote for him. All right. I don't like telling people who to vote for, but in this case, you got to just say it plainly. Don't vote for that man. But he know how to run businesses. I don't care. Go to the Better Business Bureau to learn how to run a business. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right, folks, let's jump into the next conversation. I still got my guy, Rashad, with us, and we are joined by Dr. Aditi Bustles, who is a city council person at large in Columbia, South Carolina. Dr. Bustles is a public health researcher. She's dedicated her career to improving programs and systems and policies that directly impact children's health and well-being. She specializes in the topics of adverse childhood experiences, also known as childhood trauma, and risk behavior prevention, health communication, and community resilience. And we like to welcome to the airwaves of Black Star Network and the culture, Dr. Bustles. Doc.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Wait a minute, we got to get your camera on now, Doc. We can hear you, but we got to see you. There we go. Oh, no, there we go, Doc. There you go.
How are you?
I'm good, Dr. Bustles. How are you, ma'am?
I'm good. I've been spending the last 2 days just immersed in connecting with a lot of local leaders. And I would say that in a time, and I was listening to the conversation prior to this, in a time that we are done with the tweets and the bickering and dealing with the aftermath of this most recent election, I still continue to hold hope on a local level. And I'm looking forward to talking with you about that a little bit today, because despite it not being glamorous and sexy and getting all this coverage, there are some really cool things, particularly in the South, we're neighbors with Georgia. And so South Carolina is a challenging climate, but there's some really cool things happening locally. So when we think about advancing racial equity, advancing well-being for underserved or historically disadvantaged communities, local politics is where it's at.
Local politics is definitely where it's at, Dr. Bustles, and that was one of the reasons why I was excited to have a conversation with you, because you are in Columbia, South Carolina. You are in, you know, that's one of the heartbeats of the South, right? And being in South Carolina allows you to see that there's still a lot of challenges on the ballot. There's still a lot of challenges that Black and brown folks have to contend with, even when we think that those things are over, right? You know, there's still a challenges of trying to change the culture down there. And more importantly, to let people know that their voice matters, which is why, you know, like the Black Youth Renaissance Tour we just saw the message for, and other opportunities, is to get people engaged. And the other thing is too, Dr. Bustles, a lot of Black folks have actually migrated to the South as a result of COVID. So cities like Columbia and cities all across the southern parts of the country, they see, I'm sure y'all have seen an explosion in population of Black people coming from California, from New York, from Pennsylvania, because the quality of life is different. You can get more for your buck down there, and a lot of other reasons. And so the South plays a huge role in how this country is going to move forward over the next 2 to 4 years, especially. And if we're talking about making any real changes, it's going to have to include the South.
100%. And I think when you also look at the history of the South, as folks are migrating downward to the South, you're also seeing those that have lived here for generations.
Yeah.
You know, on one hand, the cost of living is low and it's an easy life and a good life, but also generationally, rent is getting really high and home ownership here is low. And home ownership is one of the biggest indicators of generational wealth. And that's something that we need to see change. But I agree with you that we must start investing heavily in the South, all the way down to those down ballot races, whether it's school board, water soil commissioner, city council, because that can really be the incubator of innovative ideas that then expands over time to actually make a difference for Black and Brown communities.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to bring in my colleague and my friend here, Brother Rashad, as we have this conversation, because I know that you cover a lot of things. Rashad works in the nonprofit sector as well. He's been working with children, youth, and families for many, many years, as long as I've known him. Even while he was in college at Morgan State, he was doing that work. I've worked with young people, teaching and training them on how to become better leaders for themselves and their communities. So I think the three of us have that all in common, which is that we want to see the health and well-being of the next generation to be good. What would you say right now, Dr. Bustles, looking at the state of where we are? What grade would you give to the health and well-being status of children in this country?
Well, I don't even have to make up that grade. We have that data. And as a researcher, I'm constantly looking at data. When you look at traditionally the Bible Belt, and some of the Southwest, so New Mexico, Arizona, all of those states are in the bottom 10 in terms of well-being. And the way that we look at well-being is economic opportunity, economic stability, family and community indicators, health indicators. Not surprisingly, that same area has the highest rates of obesity, highest rates of heart disease, lowest educational attainment. A lot of that's systemic, but we need to remember that people created these systems, so people can also uncreate these systems. And so that's the hope that I think that we need to keep for young people as they are getting energized and, certainly participating civically and in their community, that we're not doing well. We have done well. If you look at over a 50-year period, yes, we've moved in the right direction, but there's a lot more work to be done to ensure that the next generation is set up for success.
So is that something that, and I know you study policy, and after this question, Rashad, I'm going to certainly give you a chance, bro. But Doctor, when you're talking about policy, when you're talking about something like this, the sensitivity of health and well-being of children, should that be a institutional responsibility? Should that just be on the parents? Like who should be the driving force behind that?
So that's a great question. We often resort to, and we often even think about in COVID, how much we put the emphasis on the individual, the parents. That, leave it up to the parents, leave it up to the family. But what we often don't realize is that our environment and the policies around us absolutely influence how we make choices. And in public health, we call that our social factors or social determinants of health that can either promote good things or in many cases promote bad things. So when you have a community that already has high rates of heart disease and all of these other conditions that we know can also exacerbate symptoms of COVID-19, and we also know that this community is a Black and Brown community because they've been redlined and segregated for a long time, all of those things start to factor into realizing that it has to be everything. It has to be a community response. We need our nonprofits and our community groups to do the work. They know those communities the best. It has to be a policy response that advances the greater good for everyone and levels the playing field. And that's what we talk about when we say equity. And then it has to be individuals that believe that there's a better future ahead and that we should instill hope in the next generation, and that there's so many things that we can do when we put our heads together and try and fight for what we believe in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Rashard?
Yeah, Dr. Bustle, pleasure to meet you. Thank you for your service. Mine's is Farajii pulled my question out, so I'm not going to be repetitive, and I thank you for your answer. Mine would be, as and you alluded to it, saying that when Farajii said, where would we score ourselves? And you said there's actually data that assesses these social determinants, right? And you being an elected official as well, and serving in our governmental agencies in your respective state and city. I'm curious to, knowing that we have these national report cards that are showing, and we have seen an emergence of policy that lifts up the connectivity to the ACEs and assessments of our social indicators. From your lens, are you able to identify, or have we been able to identify where these actual policies and practices are actually effective or moving in a progressive movement, that we can pinpoint certain states and cities, and we can then lean over and give some blueprint or framework for other cities and other governments to replicate or expand on them, right? I know we know the problem exists. We know the long-standing history and implications of the problems, but could we also identify some of the solutions and practices that are being deemed effective, and how and where are they in today's world?
Absolutely. And of course, sometimes elected officials, they want to focus on just their community and their specific context. Because while there are best practices around the state of South Carolina and across the country, communities are different. You can't compare Columbia, South Carolina to Los Angeles, California. But you can pull things that have worked at a micro level to hopefully see if that can make a difference. So one example I'll give you is oftentimes, childhood obesity is of utmost concern to lawmakers, to community members. And so what folks will do is they'll push to build a park in a neighborhood that's been historically disinvested in. But what they fail to see is if that community isn't safe, kids aren't going to use the park, right? And so there's a lot of innovative practices that have been created in other cities, blueprints, like you said, that help address both things. Oftentimes we put a Band-Aid because we want a small, quick win to solve a problem. But to actually address the root cause of some of these issues, it takes time, it takes patience, it takes investment over time. And it also takes us realizing that maybe this won't work, but we have to try.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so what are you hopeful, Dr. Bustles, that as you're at this conference, at this summit, you're meeting with city leaders, you're meeting with folks that come in direct contact with citizens each and every day? Are you confident that cities are really taking their commitment to the next level in this space of making sure that children are better provided for, better cultivated? Do you feel more confident?
I feel more confident because the conference here, the National League of Cities, a major theme has been incivility and the ability that we used to have to talk to each other from different backgrounds and viewpoints. It really doesn't exist anymore, and that's by design. People want us to fight. People want us to be further apart so that progress isn't made. And what's great about cities is that everybody wants good roads. They want safe schools. They want safe communities. They want economic opportunities for their families. And so when we're able to meet people where they are, and I've been able to talk to folks from all over the country, I think that you start to see that hope. The one thing I'd like to see more of is there's not a lot of young people in local government. I'm among probably the youngest here. And not to say that there isn't a value in different generational perspectives, but oftentimes you'll have legislators talk about young people and millennials and Gen Z. And I'm like, but you haven't once asked what we actually want. And so I also really like that the National League of Cities is really emphasizing that we gotta have youth voice. We gotta have our leaders look like the people that we are serving. And that's an area that we still continue to struggle in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, Dr. Bustles, I don't want to take too much of your time, but, I truly appreciate you for jumping on and having just some conversation. So let's just very quickly, what's the step that we need to consider? I mean, because I would like to bring you back on when we have more chance or more time to talk about this more in depth. But what should be the next step? I mean, we've had this midterm election. we're seeing, we know that there are these policies in various states across the country that either strengthen the family or weaken the family, particularly in Black and brown communities. Should we move forward? How do we handle all of these forces?
So I can talk specifically about South Carolina, and I think Georgia has struggled a little bit with the same. While, there were some wins for more progressive viewpoints across the country, South Carolina, we have a super majority of Republicans and conservative voices now on every level of government. We have to accept that what we have been doing is not working. And that means organizing and building up our strategy for 2023, 2024 now. It requires not gatekeeping and allowing young people to step up and run if they have an idea and they want to see their communities progress. It requires holding the elected officials that now serve us accountable. Right? I often say, yeah, you can yell at me. That's what I signed up for. If you don't agree with something, I want to talk to you about it. And that is my role for us to have discourse and then to come to a conclusion as to why we're moving forward the way that we did. And most importantly, we cannot be swayed by all of these distractions that are diluting the Black vote, diluting the brown vote, and focus on the future that all of our kids deserve. And that requires us to be inconvenienced, take the extra step, because the other side's doing it, to make sure that we have representations at all levels of government.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dr. Aditi Bustles, we appreciate your time with us this afternoon. Again, I'm very serious, Doc. We got to bring you back on, because I would love to pick your brain around the whole issue of child welfare and so many other children's based issues. So definitely want to have you back on. But thank you so much for the few moments you gave to us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
and to my brother Rashad, I appreciate you, bro. I know that you're doing some great work, always out and about doing some things. So your time is certainly precious to me, bro. But I thank you so much, giving us a little bit of your insight. We got another Morgan Bear that's going to be taking the mantle from you this afternoon. I think you know a brother named Sinedu.
Hey, look, that's me, brother. That right there, that's a fiery brother. Look, I have no problem in passing the baton and the platform to him, but I can save my voice and my space of wisdom. Like give him the mic. That brother got a lot to say.
That's my guy, bro. So Rashad, I appreciate you this afternoon, bro. Thank you for your time.
Hey, always for the culture, brother. Continue to service in your life. Peace.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, we're going to switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about something that I read. This is from a recent op-ed that Mr. Tim Wise, y'all familiar with Tim Wise? He's a scholar that talks about racism, a white scholar that talks about racism in a very, 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 very liberating way. He put out a piece about stupidity and people feeling like they have their right to their entitled opinion. I'm going to share with you what he said and get your take on it, as well as bringing my brother Sinedu into the conversation. And so we're going to have a conversation about stupidity. When stupid ideas are expressed, who really has the right to shut them down? We'll have that conversation. Also, later on in the hour, we're going to talk about a major double Dutch competition that's coming to the historic Apollo Theater. So you don't want to miss that conversation as well. Stay with us. All of that is coming up on the next hour of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
There's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Folks, welcome to The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in to the second hour of today's show. Man, oh man, if you haven't had a chance to check out the first hour, make sure you do. Go to the replay. Go to blackstarnetwork.com today, where you can check out all the replays of our past shows, and including the one of today. But more importantly, go to the website to see what we're doing to build this media platform that is culturally relevant. A platform that is speaking telling our story, and certainly defending our case to be heard. So we invite you to join us, and more importantly, we invite you to continue to support us. You can go to Black Star Network today, and you can give something, whatever you can, out of the goodness of your heart. You can give something to help us continue to do the great work that we are doing of having these conversations, of being a platform and providing a space for us to come together as a people and as a community. So again, blackstarnetwork.com. Also follow us on all of our social media platforms, on Twitter and IG at Black Star Network. And while you're there on social media, make sure you follow me, yours truly, Farajii Muhammad. You can follow me at The Real Farajii on IG. On Twitter, I'm at Farajii. And on Facebook, I'm at Farajii Muhammad as well. And I would love to connect with you, build with you, and most importantly, continue to be a part of the great online culture crew, our community, our family of folks who are saying, you know what, we need to look at the culture differently And more importantly, we need to look at this culture. That way it benefits all of us and not just some of us. So make sure y'all connect with me. I'd love to hear from you. All right, folks, our next conversation, it's a different conversation. It's about the space that I often think that we're in, which is it's all about ideas. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Yes, the economy that the currency that we're working for is not just about dollars and cents. The currency that we're using today is the currency of ideas. And this has always been something that I've been finding to be near and dear to my heart, that if you are able to express yourself, if you are able to get your ideas across, if you are able to come across ideas that empower people, that inspire people to take action that will lead to change, then you are a truly rich person. So we are part of an idea economy, folks. This is the economy where that it's not about how much you have, because we're all blessed with the ability to think. We all are blessed with the ability to think, right? Now, whether we use those tools or those skills to have critical conversations about things that are important to us is a whole different matter. And so this next conversation goes along this line. This is based on a recent piece that was written by activist and scholar Tim Wise. If you're not familiar, he was actually featured in the piece for Roland's book, White Fear. And he's the white gentleman. He often talks about race, racism, and white privilege in America. And he wrote this piece. Man, y'all gonna laugh at this one. Being entitled to your opinion is not a defense for stupidity. I know some of my Culture Crew members will understand this. Y'all in the chat probably tripping. I should call some of y'all out, because y'all often talk about this, that some of the things that people say is so stupid. And I'm gonna be honest, folks. You know what I mean? Like, we try to, I don't mind having a difference of opinion, but when you have some opinion that's completely off base, you gotta do something about it. So I thought the best person to have for this conversation is my brother. He is a diversity, equity, and inclusion specialist. Maybe he can help to smooth the rough edges of coming across stupid people that that I've been jaded by. My brother, who I have nothing but love and respect for, my man Sinedu Wakorfor. Sinedu, good afternoon. How you feeling, brother? Peace and blessings.
Good afternoon, brother. How are you? Peace and blessings.
I'm good. All right, Sinedu. Talking about being entitled to your opinion is not a defense for stupidity. This is what Tim Wise had to say around this issue. And it's a very good, I'm telling y'all, if y'all haven't had a chance, y'all can check out this piece on goodmenproject.com, goodmenproject.com. And you can read this entire piece for yourself. But this is what Mr. Wise had to say about this. He said, indeed, the entitled to my opinion folks often think their opinions are more valid than the opinions of experts precisely because they aren't experts. According to Tim Wise, their mentality is based on, after all, experts are suspect. We've seen a lot of that. Right? Where we can lose. The most recent case is around everything from COVID and vaccinations. Then you got conversations about, big issues, Brother Sinedu, reparations, right? People who have an opinion, who feel like they are entitled to their opinion, which they are. Everybody has the right to their opinion. But that does not mean that your opinion is right. I'm going to say that again. Your right to an opinion does not mean that your opinion is right or is more valid, or it carries more weight than people who have actually studied those issues. And I think, Sinedu, this opens up the floodgates, because when I was reading this piece, I was thinking about one thing: social media. Social media in particular has given people a space and a platform to express their opinion, and then not only to express their opinion, to make it feel like their opinion is more valid than people who have actually studied a situation, who have studied an issue. who have put time and research in an issue. Talk to me. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, our great country continues to get stupider and stupider in theory. And I think it's because the idea of somebody getting their points across becomes more valuable than if their point is even credible. Just like we say in media, it's not about who is telling the truth, it's who says it in the most entertaining way or who delivers it first. And we have kind of, as an economy, as a country, we have softened ourselves and cheapened the idea of the whole point of expertise, where somebody who is a well-learned, practitioner, if you will, in whatever field is the person that you look towards. But now it's the person that has the most followers, the person that, quote unquote, relates more to you, gets a sense of credibility from the level of entertainment that they have towards you. I'll use an example of Donald Trump. There's nothing credible about him when he was president or before he was president. But because he related to the entertainment side of folks, they now look to him for credibility. You will see something happens. I remember, LOL, I remember when certain things took place, even 9/11, when 9/11 happened, I remember they asked Ja Rule on his take of what is going on. And they did that because of ratings. Ja Rule was hot in 2001, and that's probably to get the soundbite of the Black community. But then you ask yourself, when you do things like that, you are emboldening people who are not masters of a certain thing to now think that they're that thing. So I just think we need to get back to the place where the professionals are the professionals and the entertainers are the entertainers. And if we're going to blend the two, make sure that that person is a well-equipped person to do both.
I couldn't agree with you more. But it is funny that we often believe that those who rank high in status have the better opinions or better ideas. And that's not true. That's just not true. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we talk about, and I'm just using this as an example, folks. When we talk about economics in this country, do we talk to people who live below the poverty level to see what they thought or how do they think that we should try to make this thing better?
Exactly.
We talk to people, i.e. political officials, who are making millions in dollars about poverty. Now, they could have gone through that in their early years, certainly. But in this present day, we do ourselves a disservice when we don't talk to people directly we don't talk to the people who are closest to the problem directly. And then we open up the floodgates even more by saying, oh, okay, we put it on social media or we put it in a public space. And now we got all these opinions about what should be done. And here's my concern, Sinead. People don't read as we used to, right? Reading is not as fundamental and it's not emphasized as much as you used to. I remember watching TV growing up in the 80s and the 90s. You know, you watch certain shows and they would pump up reading. They would pump up learning. Now, that's not the case. That's not the case. Let me share something else with you that Tim said, which I thought was interesting. This is really funny. Let's go to the second quote, Keenan and Ariel. Tim said, being entitled to an opinion, take a look, listen, folks. Being entitled to an opinion is not the same as being entitled to the respect of others for having shared it. Having the right to believe or say whatever piffle you find persuasive does not mean that others must take you seriously or entertain said piffle, as it were equal to the opinions of people with credentials on whatever subject you decided to weigh in on that day. People have a right to say and think all manner of nonsense. And the rest of us, the ones who are smart enough to know what we don't know, and then find the folks who do, have the right to laugh at them, to ridicule them. And that, indeed, we have more than a right to do that. We have an obligation, a positive duty to ridicule them, to isolate them, to make sure everyone knows how absurd they are. Tim go hard in the paint. Tim go hard in the paint, brother Sinead.
He does.
You know what I'm saying? He like, look, laugh at their ass. Don't give space to it. Shut them down. I wonder if folks agree with that. Share with me in the chat. Y'all agree with that? Do y'all agree with that? Do we need to? Because I think that people tend to believe that their voices and their opinions matter, and they do to a certain degree. But when you talking madness and foolishness, I'm gonna go back to Herschel Walker.
Damn. Not a brother. He makes it so hard. He makes it so difficult.
That man said, talking about the green economy, he said, do y'all really want a green economy? You know, to help the environment? He said, who wouldn't want that? I want that, but we're not ready for it now. He said, I'm not making this up. He said, all we need to do is cut down on, what was it? Something like, he said, we got to keep our gas guzzling cars on the road and figure out a different way to deal with this environmental issue. I'm serious, man. Look, this is the currency by which people operate from. This is the currency. See, this is why the show is so important. Like, this is why Black Star is so important. But this is what I pride myself on as a host of the Culture Shenanigan. It's like, we got to give people good news, good information, good ideas. Yes, we have our opinions, but our opinions are rooted in something beyond just the entitlement of being able to say whatever we want to say. Mm-hmm. That's important to me, bro. So when we talk about what Tim's talking about, being entitled to an opinion is not the same as being entitled to the respect of others for having shared it. I can respect you for sharing it. I can respect you for having your own opinion, but that damn sure don't make it right. Like, nah, bro, you way off. You have every right to open up your mouth to express yourself, to use the English language to articulate your thoughts. But man, that's dumb as hell.
It is. And I would go a step further and say, I don't even have to respect you, right? When you think about the First Amendment right, it just says a right to free speech. It don't say shit about how I am supposed to now receive or whatever to your free speech, because there's certain people I just don't want to hear from. And I think what's dangerous is something that I will coin here on this show, is what I will call the placebo of pontification. Right?
Oh, snap. Okay, come on, Sinead. You know you got to break that down for us, bro.
I'm gonna break it down. So, like, if you are sick, and I give you, and I say that this is a medicine that it's very world renowned, it's here to help, and you may take that medicine, and you might feel better, right? The placebo effect. You might feel better, and simply because I told you it'll make you feel better, right? And there is some truth in maybe what I'm saying. I may give you some herbal information or some medicinal information that goes with a medicine that's not this placebo, but you'll take it and you'll feel better. What I see is the placebo of pontification is a little bit of truth and a whole bunch of talking, and you got people believing you. I'm going to use another example. Look at Fox News, look at Donald Trump, look at Alex Jones from InfoWars. They will say 1% of something that is true.
Right.
Crime is rampant.
Right.
You will align with that. And then everything they'll say around that is nonsense. But because of the focal point of crime being rampant, that small truth, that small placebo, everything else around that you now believe. And I think that's very, very, very dangerous. And it's more dangerous because in this nation, we decipher success based on finances.
Right.
Somebody is. And right. I hate to bring up a sister, but look at, if you know, what's her name? Coach, is it Coach K? Is it the one with the, what did she say? The low vibrational plates. That lady, if you ever saw her on social media, one part of what she said was true. But because she's quote unquote rich or a millionaire or whatever, the gullible folks who are following her are now putting truth into everything else she says, even though there isn't a whole bunch of truth there. And that is the new generation of America. And to your point, Farajii, it is because people don't read. Because once upon a time, you could sell me BS maybe in the 80s or the 70s, but half of the time people said no, actually, according to, and then spit out a credible source. But now all of the days is, well, I saw on Instagram and I saw on YouTube and it's this and that. And it's very dangerous because you see, was it not? We talked about it on the show. Alex Jones got sued for $1 billion saying that the kids in Sandy Hook didn't really die.
Right, that it was a hoax.
With that, it's dangerous.
It's and you know what? We could talk about Alex Jones. We could talk about Kanye West, right? Because Kanye might say, "Oh, I got an opinion." Okay, you can have an opinion, but look at what happened. You know what I'm saying? And I agree with you 100%, Sinead, because I feel like critical thinking is not taught. You know what I'm saying? Like there's the old saying that common sense isn't always so common. Critical thinking is not taught, man. You got to teach in this day and time. And I know some people might see, everybody believes this is the thing. Nobody goes around, Sinead, and says that they believe that they're stupid. And I'm saying intellectually stupid. Like, oh no, nobody says, oh my gosh, when I talk, I just be talking a bunch of bullshit. Nobody says that. Nobody goes around and say, you know what? When I talk, I don't have no facts, no figures, no data to back up what I say. I just come off the top of my head to make up stuff. Nobody says that. Everybody believes that they make sense. It's not until you express your ideas, your thoughts, until you realize I don't make sense.
I don't make sense.
You know what I'm saying? And the problem has become is that instead of us talking with the hope of learning, you know, talking and sharing our thoughts so that way other people become sounding boards, we talk to try to act as if we know, and we don't.
And we don't.
It's two different intentions. It's one thing to have a dialogue, to share ideas, to kind of go back and forth, to make sure your idea is strong versus the next person's idea, to have a mutual respect during the exchange. But it's another thing to come into the conversation thinking you know, and you just spitting off a bunch of rhetoric. And rhetoric is just empty language, right? You just spitting off a bunch of rhetoric. You're not really, you know, you have no basis. There's no reference point. There's no rootedness in your ideas. It's just stuff to say.
Hot air.
And that's acceptable.
Yeah.
That's acceptable, right? Because when you talk, people look at who you are, where you come from, how much money you got. You know what I'm saying? They look at all of the outer stuff. They don't listen. And you know, when we talk about everything from politics or school issues or healthcare and all of these things, in the midst of a culture where people can just say whatever they want to say and may or may not be challenged or resisted, it opens the door. It opens the door for madness and nonsense. And you know, Tim used the strong word being stupid. But it really does speak to, like, damn, you really didn't think that through now, did you? You know what I'm saying? Like, you really didn't think that through. It's like, for example, if somebody were to say, oh, man, you got a homeless problem? Just build some new houses. Be like, that's not the root of the problem. You know, you have to do some other things before you get to that point. But we're so easy to jump to the quick answer, the easy answer. And then when somebody challenges us, now we got a problem.
Absolutely.
What's your take, bro?
I think it's also important that, you know how when you are talking about something in the legal sense, you have to say allegedly, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't get defamation of character, lawsuits or what have you. In my profession of communications, for example, I remember we were taught to say stuff like, rather than speak like it's the fact, we would say stuff like, in my experience. This way, it limits the context. Even if what I'm saying sounds stupid, to Tim's point, at least I have now prefaced it around the idea of this is my lived experience. I could be the only one who's lived it, but this is what I'm seeing. But when people make blanket statements, and it is for, like, I mean, it is for the uproar. We live in a very cyclical ratings type of society. Like, it is an entertainment meritocracy that we live in, where it's the level of entertainment that you can get brings you the higher quality of standard, when the person who can be speaking the gospel truth is just minuscule. That's why Fox News has better ratings than CNN, you know, and stuff of that nature. And there's a danger in that, because also we live in a generation, a time where people want to do the least amount of work to get the most bang for their buck. So already everybody is already looking for the truncated version of truth. And there is no such thing as truncated version of truth. The truncated version of truth is a lie. Point blank, period. Wow. So we're in a very, very interesting space right now where truth is optional and opinion is law. Very dangerous.
Yep. Let's go to some of our culture crew to hear what they got to say, folks. As we're talking about being entitled to your opinion, it's not a defense for stupidity. Man, oh man. Real Brooklyn, you checked in and said it's not that the opinion is stupid, it's that a lot of people are just ignorant as hell. Okay. I think that we are ignorant. But to me, like, ignorant and stupid are two different words. And I could be wrong on this. Ignorant feels like there is a mental block or barrier that's preventing you from understanding the situation, or you really didn't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were unaware that the situation was like that. Stupid is when you know, but you choose to think otherwise. That's what makes it important to me. All right, so look, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, we're going to continue this a little bit more of this conversation, and then also we're going to have a discussion with our next guest to talk about the national double Dutch competition. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. And I'm hearing a little bit of feedback. Let me ask my team to take care of that very quickly. But folks, we've been talking about, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take another quick pause, get our technical the feedback taken care of, and we'll be right back to you. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture. There we go, right here on the Black Star Network. Thank you so much for tuning in. I want to take a final few moments to just focus on the conversation that we were just having with my brother Sinedu Okorafor. Then we'll bring our final guest onto the program as we're looking at this issue of expressing ideas, even though they might be stupid, and what the rights of those who are listening to those ideas. What should we do about it? And here's the thing. Here's the thing, Sinedu. You know, Tim Wise put it out there that, you know, that this is a situation that we're seeing all too common, especially now in this day and time, because of the political environment that we're in. So there has to be a better way for us to communicate, which is what I think Tim is saying. Like, he's saying, look, you got to shut it down because we can't give space to certain ideas, right? Because like you mentioned earlier before, ideas are so important. People hold on to these ideas. They shape our view of how we see ourselves. They shape our view of how we see, you know, the world around us. These ideas are important. You just can't say whatever. Now, we can't legislate a law to stop people from expressing their opinion, but we can make it a part of our culture where we're saying, you know what, if you come into this space, trust and believe we're going to challenge you on your ideas.
Yeah, I think it's less about legislation and just understanding that from a small ember, it just takes a little bit of wind to create an inferno. And it's important that you have to stop it so that this person knows that the nonsense, the vitriol coming out of their mouth, it will bear no basis. It will get no entertainment. It will get no audience. And I think in this politically correct world, people are afraid to say that, no, this doesn't make sense. This isn't right. Even when it's, and I hate to say this, even when it's that person that you believe in, it doesn't matter. We're not just talking about people on the street. This could be a pastor that is saying something stupid, because that is also dangerous. When you have somebody that does hold a high level of intelligentsia, that is choosing to speak stupidly or participate in nonsense talk, it's important to shut that person down too. And not just shutting down and say, nah, Joker, you're wrong, but also it's important to make sure that you have the fact, the reparable facts that say, hey, you may be mistaken. Here is what I have heard about this same topic. And give them a chance. What is your response to that? Because I think when you leave it in that instance, it takes it away from being a confrontational thing to just saying, hey, man, I'm helping you out because I could sit here and lay you out and tell you how wrong you are, but I'm giving you a chance to say, maybe rephrase or retract so you can still have some level of credibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? I'm so happy, Sinedu, that you brought that point up, that the idea could come from somebody that we respect, right? But see, here's the only thing about that. The only pushback I would say is that before we shut down, say, a voice of your pastor, right? Because some of us will say, oh, okay, fine, then I'm going to shut down a pastor. But you got to have a legitimate reason. There has to still be some reference point by which you operate from, right? There has to be some knowledge that you're going to bring to the table that is going to counteract against that idea that you are opposed to, right? Like, you just can't just say, oh, I don't believe that, pastor, therefore you're illegitimate. Because maybe your mental capacity is not that broad, right? Like maybe your experience is not that deep that you don't understand it. It's like a child telling their parents, No, I don't think, I think you're wrong, mom and dad. Vegetables are good for my health. That's not true. Cheetos up. And so you're going to have to, as the parent, you're going to have to teach your child to understand why. Same thing that if we're talking about in an adult situation, like there has to be some level of communication and raising up the person that you feel is below you, if you're the person espousing the idea. But if you have a counter idea, you have to understand, like, okay, still be willing to listen. And I think that's the part about it. We want to counter ideas because, and we don't listen. And at the end of the day, we don't respect the person that the idea is coming from. And that's hard, man. That's very, very hard. If, for example, if a white man, if Tim Wise were to come on this show and start saying some stuff, I would look foolish as hell to be like, man, because you're white, Tim, I don't respect your scholarship. Even though you've been studying race in America for years, even though you wrote books on the time, I don't respect your scholarship because you're white. That's dumb. That's stupid. You know what I'm saying? When truth is truth, truth is truth, bro, regardless of who speaks it. And hell, if my 9-year-old son points out some truth, you're right, son. But a lot of people ain't in that space. I know that. But that's where the culture comes in. And I'm not talking about this show, the culture. I'm talking about our culture, right? That we don't give space to stupid ideas, man. We just don't get it. Like using that moment as a way to teach somebody about something. And that's what it is. That's what it is. And I know that turns off a lot of people as we close out. That turns off a lot of people from going on social media. I don't know how often I know you and I are friends on social media, and they do, but I don't know how often you scroll through people's timeline, because as soon as somebody starts talking about anything relating to like current events, relationships, I tune right out, because most of the time you just be like, oh my God, this is the worst idea I've ever heard in my life. You got this skewed view. So it's really, really something, a problem. But folks, check out what Tim Wise had to say on goodmenproject.com. The title is Being Entitled to Your Opinion. It's not a defense for your stupidity. Man, oh man, such an enlightening, as crazy as it sounds, it's a very enlightening piece that you can definitely check out. All right, in the final few minutes, we want to bring on our final guest. She is doing some work to make sure that children are engaged in having fun. And she is the president of a memorial fund that was established in her dad's honor to talk about, and I want to make sure I'm pulling this all up correctly. We got Ms. Lauren Walker coming on. Ms. Lauren Walker, who is joining us. She's the president of the National, if I'm not mistaken, let's bring Lauren in, the president of the National Double Dutch League. Lauren, are you with us?
Yes, nice to see you guys. Nice to meet you.
I'm nice to meet you too, Lauren. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. We're excited to be a part of your show today and talk about Double Dutch.
Double Dutch, right? Because there is a major Double Dutch exhibition / competition that's going to be held at the historic Apollo Theater in December. Talk to us a little bit about that.
The event is this Sunday coming up in December 4th at 1 p.m. at the world famous Apollo Theater. It's called the David Walker Memorial 31st Annual Double Dutch Holiday Classic. And it's an international event with teams jumping double Dutch from all over the world, from the USA, from Hong Kong, France, Germany, Trinidad and Tobago, Puerto Rico. This is the best of the best competitive double Dutch jumpers from around the world competing for the fastest team in the world and the best of show. And it's Sunday, December 4th, 1 to 4 p.m. at the Apollo Theater, the Double Dutch Holiday Classic.
So Lauren, talk to us about, like, why is there, how did this come along? I mean, look, I grew up in a neighborhood full of girls. So I'm familiar with double dutch, but I didn't know double dutch was taken on to this level. This sounds like next level jump rope here. This sounds like the type of jump rope where you just can't just jump in. This is like you jump in your ass. If you can't jump rope, you're gonna move that ass along. You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely. This is the best of the best around the world, around the country. Here you'll see an urban activity that our parents and our grandparents used to do as a recreational sport that in 1971 became a competition sport. My father, David Walker, was a police officer in New York City and saw some young ladies jumping rope in Harlem, New York. That was his beat. Saw some young ladies jumping rope and thought that double dutch would be a great sport to bring into the Harlem community. This was during a time where there were not too many organized activities for young ladies. The boys had baseball and basketball and football, but there wasn't a lot for young ladies. And with the help with the police department and New York City Board of Education in Harlem, the sport was established.
Wow. So this is going to be a holiday classic, December the 4th. It's from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Take a look at this, folks. 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the world famous Apollo Theater. Tickets are now being sold. And this is presented by the David A. Walker Memorial Annual Double Dutch Holiday Class. This is something from the National Double Dutch organization, National Double Dutch League. This is really impressive here, Lauren. I didn't know double dutch got to this level, but this is super dope right here.
We appreciate it. We appreciate you guys letting us share our sport, and this is a fun day. This is a double dutch day. Not only do we have teams from around the world trying to compete, we have old teams trying to continue their legacy from Brooklyn and North Carolina and from Japan, and we have new teams trying to break these new records. It's a fun event for families and friends.
Yeah,
featuring world-class teams. It's the biggest day for trip days for schools and youth organizations in New York City, and neighboring states will come to the event. And we're happy to share the love of double dutch in memory of my father, David Walker. He was a police officer that did a lot for the community and tried to create community programming for young girls and young boys in New York City. And we're excited to have this event, obviously at the world famous Apollo Theater. What better place to have an historic urban activity from our community to host for 31 years with the support of the Apollo Theater community programs. We're excited, the teams are excited, and we're happy that you're allowing us to share this event. We are around, Double Dutch is around, competitive Double Dutch, and we have showcasing kids of all ages from 4th, 5th grade to an open division that we have at this event. It's not only a competition, but it's also a show. Again, we're looking for the best. We're looking for the best of show too in the freestyle event.
Oh, so you get anybody can jump in and be a part of the show.
Yes, we invite everybody. It's what we invite is an invitational. We invite the top teams from different organizations around the world. And again, we have from 4th and 5th grade, the teams compete for the fastest team in the world, as well as the best fusion freestyle. The freestyle music with double dutch, anything that they can be creative and their minds can think of.
All right, take a look at this video, y'all. Look at this. What were we just watching there, Lauren?
That's the speed competition. Every time the left foot touches the ground, the jumper gets a point. And, there can be up to almost 250 jumps in 2 minutes. So it's a 2-minute speed test that each team from 4th grade all the way to adult, it's a skills test that they have to do before they actually compete for the freestyle.
Dang. Hey, Sinead, could you do that, bro?
Hell no.
Look at this. The sport is traditionally for young females, but now we do have a lot of males that are world champions.
I was going to ask that, Lauren, because we know double dutch is a girls, is a girls sport, but we're in the new age too. So I'm assuming that some boys will probably want to get in the fun, get in the mix of things, right?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Double Dutch is not only about the jumping. You need two good turners too. And without the turners, there's no Double Dutch. And, boys can add that extra element and that extra element to a team. And it's growing more and more with males that have an interest, just like any sport around the world.
Man, let me just tell you something. I know how the situation like this gets. I can only imagine, Lauren and Sinead, that this joint probably is lit in terms of, man, you know how like I'm from Baltimore, so I come from a city where we have like marching bands, right?
Yes.
And like when the marching bands come out and they do their routines and stuff, the dancing and it gets to be like a whole culture, right? Like a whole situation, a whole mood, as they say, right? So I can only imagine if your daughter, your son is up there doing the speed contest, these little girls are just going at it. I'm sure that place would be rocking. I can only imagine.
It's an amazing day, not only for people who are Double Dutch enthusiasts, but for someone who's never even seen Double Dutch before. It's an amazing day. I mean, these not only are jumpers who are passionate for it, but these are also athletes. And yes, it gets competitive. And it's a lot of fun. It's at the Apollo. We don't have the Sandman coming out, but you best believe the crowd is jumping in that building. It's a fun day. It's a Double Dutch day, and we want to encourage everyone to join us December 4th in memory of my father, Police Officer David Walker, who started the sport of Double Dutch. Again, he started the sport of Double Dutch, and we're just excited to continue this legacy. And
let me ask you, Lauren, how far do y'all want to take this sport? Do y'all and I'm being dead serious. Do y'all want to take it to an Olympic level? We have Olympic level double dutching.
Absolutely, that was my father's mission. That was one of the reasons why he wanted to have it at the Apollo, because he wanted to showcase what an urban activity in one of the top in his community in Harlem, and bring this sport, this urban activity to an Olympic level. These are things that we are looking for in the future, but obviously it takes time and commitments, and I'm sure we'll get there one day.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Well, Lauren, I appreciate you. You keep thanking us, but I appreciate you because, like any sport, it helps to cultivate the next generation, keep them focused. You know what I'm saying? Like it taps into their competitive side. So that's awesome. Any positive event that will keep young people engaged, especially Black and brown youth, I'm all for it, Lauren. I'm all for it. So big shout out to you and the National Double Dutch League. But more importantly, we want to, just raise your father's name, David Walker, for being a visionary to say, you know what, I see this happening in the community. This is fun, but at the same time, it requires some skills. We want to, kind of institutionalize this a lot so that way other generations can take part of it. Your father had a great vision, so may he rest in peace and power for even doing something like this in Harlem. And now it's become a national and really an international phenomenon, to the point where y'all are actually having these like worldwide competitions. And big shout out to the Apollo as well, of course, for hosting it. So, I mean, this adds to Black culture, man. Sinead, what's your take, bro? You got anything you want to say to Lauren?
Yeah, I mean, it's to be at the historic Apollo Theater for what Apollo stands for, not only for this country, but for Blackness. And then to be putting on a program like this that motivates younger folks to do the things that traditionally we barely see kids play outside anymore.
Come on, bro. Come on.
It couldn't be a better time for us to relish in a moment of maybe we're having an opportunity where our young ones are reflecting back on those positive, life-changing, competitive things that made us who we are today.
Yeah,
absolutely. Lauren, how can people get tickets? They're watching us today, and they might be saying, look, I'm going to be in New York, or I live in New York right now. How can people get tickets? How can they be a part of this this historic celebration?
Well, definitely at the Apollo Theater box office. They can give them a call. We have tickets on Ticketmaster, as well as our website. National Double Dutch League, nddl.org, or nationaldoubledutchleague.com. Again, the Apollo Theater box office has tickets not only for individuals, but also for youth groups. We have special rates for them so the community can come, as well as Ticketmaster and on our website.
That's awesome.
NDDL.org. And everyone
That
come
is-
out. It's going to be a fun day.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Lauren, thank you so much for coming on to the show today and being a part of the conversation and letting people know. Folks, it's the National Double Dutch League as they're presenting the David A. Walker annual Memorial Double Dutch competition at the world famous Apollo Theater. You want to get more information, check them out online. And Lauren, what's the social? What's the social for the Double Dutch League and the work y'all doing?
It's Instagram, National Double Dutch League, and National Double Dutch League. You'll see the 2 DD backwards. And we're just on every platform, but mostly Instagram, Facebook, National Double Dutch League.
Do y'all have a YouTube channel? Because some of our watchers are asking, do y'all have videos? What's your YouTube channel? Is that National Double Dutch?
Yes, it is. Go to YouTube. You'll see some of the clips from some of the fastest singles teams and doubles teams. We are building on our YouTube, but the platform is there. And on our website, a lot of historical videos on our website as well, nddl.org, to see some of the classic old 1970, 1980 first-time competitions up until now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. I absolutely love it. Lauren, thank you so much for coming on, sharing this information and getting us excited about this event. But more importantly, Lauren, thank you so much for being so good for the culture, because this is exactly what we need right now. So thank you.
Let me just say, Double Dutch, remember, is 2 turners, 1 jumper, and a set of ropes. That's Double Dutch.
I want you to put that out there one more time, Lauren.
Double Dutch, everyone remember, is 2 turners, 1 jumper, and a set of ropes. Everybody could do it.
Everybody can do it, except for me, Lauren.
And
I do 2 jumps. And you will be like, he was turned twice and he fell once. And
we can get
except
you
for me. You know what I'm saying? But this is awesome. This is absolutely dope. Lauren Walker, check it in for the National Double Dutch League. Again, folks, for their National Double Dutch competition and exhibition happening December 4th at the world famous Apollo Theater. Check them out online on their socials to get all the information. But take a look here. Right now, the National Double Dutch Holiday Classic, Sunday, December 4th, starting at 1 p.m. Official Double Dutch Sport and Fusion Freestyle Competition featuring world-class championship teams, fun-filled entertainment for the whole family, and so much more. You can also watch this on their website at nddl.org. Again, that's nddl.org. There it is right there. Thank you, Lauren, for being with us today here on The Culture. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, man, Sinedu, my guy. I appreciate you, bro.
It's a pleasure.
I appreciate you. Always appreciate your insight and analysis, man. And God willing, we'll have to circle back next week to bring you on. We probably, of course, it's Thanksgiving week, so it won't be Thursday, but, we should be back on Friday. Maybe I'm going to check with him, but I don't mind jumping on here on Black Friday a little bit. You know what I mean? We can spend a little money if people want to spend a little money, but still got to drop some knowledge. So we can do a little bit of both. But I appreciate you, Sinedu. Thank you so much for joining us.
Peace and blessings.
All right. Peace and blessings. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Big shout out to Dr. Make sure I'm getting this sister's name right. Aditi Bustles. There it is, Dr. Bustles, for coming on to talk a little bit about what's going on in Columbia, South Carolina, and child welfare. Big shout out to my brother Rashad, culture crew member, and certainly big shout out to you for being a part of the conversation. Folks, we need your support. We need you to keep this momentum going. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com, blackstarnetwork.com, and you can do your part continuing to support us, a Black-owned media platform, as we're providing digital programming like no other. So just go on to blackstarnetwork.com. see how you can support us, whether it's financially or otherwise. But check this out. Every level of support is important. Every dime matters. Every share matters. And guess what? Every time y'all log in, every login from you matters. Check us out at blackstarnetwork.com. Also, make sure you follow us on our social at Black Star Network on IG and Twitter. And follow yours truly, this guy. Turn it back to me, guys. To me, guys. I'm pointing at me, guys. See, my crew, they think they're funny. Yes, this guy. Follow me on all my social media at Farajii, the real Farajii, on Instagram, and Farajii on Twitter. I would love to connect with y'all. Let's continue to build the neighborhood. Let's continue to build the community that we've established here as our online culture crew. Man, oh man, next week is probably going to be a short week just because of Thanksgiving, but we will certainly get a couple of conversations in. So make sure y'all tune in for that next week. And of course, we're going to have some more dope guests, more dope conversations, and a whole lot more. Stay tuned. Up next is RMU, Roland Martin Unfiltered. And that's coming at you at 6 o'clock. Big shout out to my team, King Keenan, Ariel, Joel, and my control room. Thank you for the great work they've been doing all week to make this show possible. Again, folks, we thank you so much. Every day that we have a chance to chat with you, to talk about these issues, it just brings my joy. It brings my heart so much joy to connect with you on this level. So I appreciate each and every one of you. We're going to have a few culture crew members that's going to be joining us next week. So I'm excited about that as well. So a lot to look forward to. But stay tuned. 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. RMU is coming at you with Roland Martin Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk on Monday for another exciting edition of The Culture. I hope you have a safe and pleasant weekend, and I look forward to reconnecting with you on Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace.